Christian parenting.
Can you picture this? A mom. She's decided to homeschool her kids, and she pours so much of her heart and her time and her effort and energy into homeschool, and choosing the curriculum and making a nice environment and doing all the things and just pouring her heart and soul, just everything into it. And over there is one of her children sitting at the dining room table or your homeschool space, and that child is just not doing their work. They say it's too hard, or they don't want to, and they're finding all kinds of other things to do, just sitting and staring off into space. Maybe you don't need to imagine that scenario. It might be your reality every single day. And if it is not, and you're listening to this episode saying, maybe I'll listen just in case, you will most likely encounter this at some point in your homeschool journey. You'll have one child, maybe two, maybe multiple children, or maybe seasons where they take turns at just being unmotivated. Today, we're going to talk about how to motivate that child who takes forever to do their homeschool. But I want to put a disclaimer here. I don't know your exact circumstance. Unfortunately, we probably have not met face to face, even though I wish that we could. I don't know your children. I don't know your family dynamics. I don't know the child that is not motivated and taking forever. I don't know their personality. The goal of this episode is to give you some ideas, because you do know what to do and you do know what is best for your child. So based upon what your goals are, your family culture, what your husband and you, what are you doing here with homeschool? That's how you're going to take some of these ideas or one idea and kind of run with it and try it out. But now let's get into this episode. And I am speaking from experience here, having kids throughout the different years of homeschooling that just were not motivated. So let's take a moment and just talk about one of the parts of homeschooling that is actually can be really quite difficult and challenging. Welcome to Little by Little Homeschool Podcast. I am Leigh Nguyen, and I am so blessed that you are here. I hope you are having a great day. We are just about here at the stepping into April, and I hope that, for me at least, I'm kind of done with winter. I'm ready for some spring days. I hope that you maybe have some spring flowers and you are just seeing signs of spring no matter where you live, and that it is giving new life to your homeschool. But if you are interested in more information about Little by Little Homeschool, obviously continue listening to the podcast. But in the show notes, there's always links for you. You can always even just go, if you want to type into your browser, littlebylittlehomeschool.com. We've got some good things that we have offered for you, and a conference that's coming in the fall, and just all kinds of things. But thank you for joining me today for this episode. Before we get into today's topic, I've got a giveaway for you that I'm excited to offer. There's going to be 2 winners of a book. Now, us homeschool moms, we love books, and this one is going to be hot off the press. The title of the book is called Their Future is Shining Bright, and it's by Rachel Kovac, and it is a book specifically about homeschooling high school. Now, you might have just young children. Listen, I think you should enter this giveaway and get this book and be thinking about it. I know that for me, even before we started homeschooling, I was thinking about the next season. I was thinking about their high school years when they were in early elementary, because I think it's really good for us as parents to think through things, to be prepared. So for me, in this season right now, I'm thinking ahead. Okay, what is it going to be like when they get married, and how am I going to be as a mother-in-law? So that's just thinking ahead. So even if you have young kids, or maybe you're on the cusp of high school, or you could be just neck deep in high school, and you're like, I need some motivation, I need some encouragement to keep at it. I would love to be able to put one of these books into your hands, and actually into 2 of your hands. So there will be 2 winners. This giveaway is sponsored by Tyndale, who is the publisher of the book. Now, the giveaway only goes through this week. So through Friday, you can go ahead and enter. The link is going to be in the show notes. So you go ahead and enter that, and then it'll be your email address. And so the winners will be contacted just via email. So 2 of you can win Their Future is Shining Bright by Rachel Kovac from Tyndale. So check out the link in the show notes to be able to enter that. It'll take you like maybe 15 seconds or so to go ahead and enter it. And either way, it's so good to be able to support publishers who will take the time and the effort to publish books that can get into the hands of homeschool moms. So I hope that you enjoy the book, and go ahead and enter that now. Okay, before we start, I want to reiterate again what I said earlier. I do not know your circumstances. I wish I did. I wish we could sit down over coffee and you could tell me all about your kids. I love when I get emails, especially replying back to the emails that I send out. and I get to hear a little bit more from you. So please don't ever hesitate to send me an email. I would love to be able to hear about your family. But I don't know your specific circumstances, but the goal of today's episode is to give you ideas. I want you to choose what you need to do next with your child that is unmotivated and is just taking forever to do their homeschool work, because you're like, I'd like to move on with the day. And I know how frustrating it is. It can just start to get under our skins, and it's just, why can't they get this done? I want to move on. I want to check this off of my to-do list. We've got other things to do. And I know there's some deeper heart work that needs to go on. But I want you to choose from this list of ideas. And there could be other ideas out too. I just don't want this episode to be an hour long. So there are other ideas out there, but maybe they'll still just kind of help to give you one idea to try. And another idea, maybe if that doesn't work, then try the next idea and go and do maybe some more research. Just know that you are not alone in this. Almost all of us. I have not taken a poll, but I would almost guarantee that at least every single homeschool family has had a child that is unmotivated at some point and just sat there and dilly-dallied and stared off into space and came up with lots of excuses. And I need a snack. Oh, I need to use the bathroom. Oh, the dog needed petted. Oh, I thought I saw a hurt and injured bird outside, so I had to go check on it. You know the drill. But choose what is best here from these ideas based upon your goals, based upon your family culture and your child right now. You may have multiple children that are unmotivated and going through a season of this. You might have to pick a specific approach per child, and that's okay to do. Now, first of all, let's know also that all kids are different. And there are going to be some kids who will never exhibit this, who will just be like, yes, okay, I'll go and do it. I did do an episode about compliant children, and you might find that compliant children are just very cooperative and will do their work. Go ahead back and listen to that episode if you have a compliant child, just because there are things that we need to be considering and to think of and to protect them from. So you could have children that maybe you have a gaggle of kids and all of them but one are fine with doing their work. But if you have one unmotivated child right now, listen, it is not your fault. It is just something maybe they're going through. It might be a specific personality trait. It might be a specific bent. You might find like, okay, they just are lazy about their schoolwork, but they're also lazy about everything else. Well, that's like, okay, well, maybe it's not, maybe the schoolwork is just like the trickle down the stream. You might need to then say, okay, they're lazy about their chores and they're helping out with their family. They're lazy about a lot of other things. Well, then that might be where you need to start. And then hopefully there is then a downstream effect, which will affect and hopefully produce more motivation when it comes to their homeschool. Like I said, you could have a couple children that at the same time, let's say you have 5 kids and you might have 2 at the time. They're just unmotivated. You can see the reasons why they're unmotivated. Okay, that's okay. But if you are finding that all of your kids are unmotivated and they're all taking forever to do their work, they're not doing things, I'm sorry to say, but you are probably the bottleneck and you're going to have to solve that. It's possibly not a child problem. It's a parent problem. And so you're going to have to figure out, what is it? Why are all of my kids seeing hurt birds out in the yard that have to be rescued at the same exact time? Why do they all think the dog needs to be pet? Your homeschool might be boring. I'm just going to say that. It might be boring. You might be showing the lack of motivation and everything. And so they're just carrying on the feeling that you're putting out for it. So you're going to have to solve it. If you are thinking that if you're seeing that it's all the kids, it might be you. Now, these ideas I'm going to give you right now are in no particular order after the first one. The first one is like the first thing I want you to think about. And then from there, just kind of pick and choose. So number 1, I want you to consider the maturity of your child. Is this child a boy? Is it a girl? What is kind of the average maturity? Look at their maturity overall in all areas of their life. If they are just immature in a lot of areas, then they're going to be immature when it comes to the homeschool. Look at your mature child, maybe even for their age, or just sometimes we just have those old souls, right? From the time they were just a little baby, they were an old soul and they just had a maturity to them and just a perspective. We're going to have kids that are not going to have that, and they're going to be possibly more immature, maybe more immature for their age. Does not mean that they will stay immature. It's okay. This is a progression. This is just a season you're dealing with this with them, and they will grow up as long as you are intentional and you don't enable that immaturity. We don't need an immature 18-year-old. An immature 8-year-old who doesn't want to do their work is vastly different. And we can continue feeding into the immaturity from 8 to 18, and that's not going to serve them very well. One thing to think about is maybe your child is a bit more immature and you gave them too much independence too early when it came to their homeschool. You might have read books, you might have seen blog posts, you might have heard your favorite Instagram homeschool influencer say that your child needs to be more independent, and maybe you gave them more independence, but they can't handle that. And you might need to pull back on some of that independence, meaning you might not be able to just say, you're free to do this certain amount of work or these certain subjects on your own. Or maybe they are really good at that math and they can do it independently, or it's a program on the computer, but you might have to sit there. Homeschool is a sacrifice. And a lot of families and a lot of parents don't want to homeschool because they don't want the sacrifice. You have chosen to homeschool, and therefore the sacrifice goes along with it. But the sacrifice is not forever. The sacrifice is for right now. You may have to sit next to this child, even if this child is not even just a child. This is a young man, a 15-year-old teen boy, and we're going to get into some of that in just a bit. But you might have to sit there for when they are doing their lesson. Maybe you don't have to guide them through that. Maybe it might just be a math lesson on the computer. They just need to do it, but you're just sitting there. Maybe you get to do some needlepoint or knitting or read a book. Just your presence might help to keep them on target. Okay, the rest of these ideas are simply just in no particular order. How about the idea of a timer? Now, some of you might cringe. I know that there are some families who love it. Some families are like, oh, I would absolutely never do that. Listen, I had kids who would take forever to eat meals. And at the time I was like, we can't tell anybody. Someone's going to call CPS. But listen, my kids are all over 18, so I can say this now. We would put a timer for some meals like breakfast and lunch. Dinner was more of us, we would sit all together and have dinner, and that one kind of didn't seem to last forever, but breakfast and lunch just seemed to last forever. I was like, how can you still be sitting here an hour later? There was one time they were little, we just kind of let them just sit there. They weren't even fooling around, just taking forever to eat. And so we're like, okay, you guys have X amount of time, and you can do that for homeschool. I remember doing that for homeschool, just having a timer. For some kids, this will motivate them to get done before the timer. Some kids, again, you have to pick what's going to work best for your child. This might be a complete way of just deflating them. They might take this as, heresy. They might just really rebel against a timer. But it's a possibility, and maybe it doesn't hurt to try it. Number 3 is maybe mix up the order of your subjects. Are you giving your child maybe a couple subjects in a row that you expect them to do independently, and they're just kind of getting burned out, or it just looks like too much? Maybe you need to sit with them for one of those subjects. Maybe there's 3 subjects, and one of them they do independently, and they seem to be fine. The second subject, you might need to sit with them, or maybe to do with them. Or maybe you can intersperse some of the subjects that you're doing together, where you're doing the lesson, or it's family lessons and family learning together, along with independent stuff, so that they are not expected to sit there for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, however long it is, just doing their independent stuff. That will be too overwhelming and will have this negative side effect of them just taking forever. They just can't quite get focused. You can also, number 4, is to get your child's input on the curriculum. Maybe you are trying to choose for next homeschool year your science, and you might have a certain curriculum that you really like, and there just might be different topics that are within their age range. And you might say, which one do you want to do? This helps them to get a little bit of skin in the game. Maybe not every subject you are open to their input because you know which curriculum is best. But if they have some skin in the game in some of the subjects, that might help. Now, it might not help the entire homeschool year. I remember kind of getting my kids, getting their input, and they'd be all excited at the beginning, and then that would start to kind of wane that excitement. And I'd be like, don't forget, you guys picked this one. Now, if it ended up being terrible and boring, then we would go ahead and pass on it and find something else. But get some of their input on the curriculum. Maybe they're just sitting there unmotivated, and you might think that they're unmotivated, but it's just too hard. It's too challenging. So you really have to take a look at, is this something that is above their head? Did you think that maybe it was going to work? Maybe that computer math program they're doing is just too much. It's too much independence. It's too hard. They need to sit down and be better for them to be doing something with a workbook and paper and pen, that kind of stuff. Number 5, I mentioned earlier that This often has to do with maturity. It often has to do with their heart and having consistent conversations on what does the Bible say about work. God does not say that work is a bad thing. It's our culture and our society that says that work is a bad thing and we should sit around. But think about the times. I know for myself, if I waste time, and this isn't like I'm sick, I'm just avoiding kind of doing things, and I'm just scrolling, doom scrolling. That is like the worst thing afterwards. When you realize you've done it, you turn off your phone, you walk away, and you're like, I just lost 15, 30, 45, 60 minutes of my life, and I feel pretty awful right now. I could have been doing something so much better with my time, or I could have been connecting with my kids, or even just sitting and reading a book would have been a better option. And so we talk to our kids about what does the Bible say about work and how we should put our hearts into it. And it's a good thing. And it's so good to look and say, look at what I have done. And look what I have learned when it comes to the homeschool. And so have those conversations, not necessarily always a lecture on it, but just include it in your conversations. Talk about what you think in a way that isn't, again, pointing fingers at them about how you feel about work. And then talk to them, share your experience about how you have felt unmotivated and just have avoided and procrastinated things, thinking that that was going to help. That was going to help to put it off. But no, actually, when you did the work, it felt really good intrinsically. A lot of kids just don't feel that intrinsically because of the maturity level, and their wisdom is just a little bit lower. And we just pray for wisdom for them and continue to share our experience and our stories and share just a consistent conversation about what the Bible says about work. Now, number 6 is you could do some type of reward system. Now, some people don't like this. This is a love it or hate it. Again, choose what's going to be best for your child. Now, this reward system could be something that is completely done by you, or you could work with your child and you could have them help to create some goals and maybe talk to them about what their rewards could be. This can be so motivating for some kids. Some kids, it's not. Some kids, it is very motivating for certain seasons. So you have to recognize, pray for wisdom. Is this something that would be a good thing to do? And number 7, get dad involved. Now, this is especially important for boys over the ages of 12. It takes a man to raise a man. And when we have dad who is calling them up to something stronger and higher, that really does help to hopefully to motivate the young man in many areas. And then that carries over to homeschool. Oftentimes when it comes to the homeschool with our boys, they just don't see the value in it. And if dad can speak into them, the value of it, and also just the value of sometimes doing hard things or doing things that we don't want to do. We want to give them a childhood, but if we always just say, oh, adulthood is just, we get to do whatever we want. I remember my, now 21-year-old saying to me like 2 years ago or so, he owns his own business. And he was like, man, I just, as a kid, I thought that, being an adult and everything was going to be so great. I could do whatever I want. And his business is hard. It's very hard to start and to maintain and to build a business. And he's like, wow, there's a lot of responsibilities. And I said, do you want to go back to being a kid? He's like, nah, it's still okay. It's still better than being a kid and being told what to do. But it's just, in life, especially for a young man, it's a hard knock life, as Annie would say, right? But there are just going to be things that you're just going to have to do. All of us, boys and girls, we're going to have to do things that we don't necessarily want to do. And this is a training ground for showing them that. Before we close, I want to say this, and this is very important. You, as the homeschool mom, you have to be calm. Remember that you are the adult. Let's not be trying to manipulate them, trying to make them feel guilty. Let's not be yelling, getting angry. You have to be calm. If you are going to blow it because you walk into the room and your child has been sitting there for an hour and a half and still hasn't done their math, walk out of the room if you are about to blow it. Pray, God, I need some wisdom right now. Help me to say the right things. Help my attitude to just be I have just found for myself, one of quietness. And that has actually spoken much more volumes than my ranting and my raving and just getting upset with my kids. It's just having just that quiet countenance and speaking directly, but don't lose it. You are the adult. I encourage you, lots of prayers for wisdom during those moments and outside of those moments, but you have to be calm at the source of it all. Now, again, if you want to enter that giveaway for the book, Their Future is Shining Bright by Rachel Kovac, check out the link in the show notes. If you are currently thinking about homeschool curriculum and all the great things for your next homeschool year, I would encourage you to go ahead and get started in your homeschool blueprint. It's going to help you figure out what's going to be a good homeschool curriculum for you, what's going to be a good setup for your days and your weeks and your months, so that you can get that all figured out and then sit back and enjoy the summer and know that you have that all set up and maybe hopefully purchased and everything. But it's also going to help you with that foundation and that vision that I spoke about earlier, that you really have to be true to your family's goals, your vision, your family culture, and your homeschool blueprint is going to help you do that. You can get more information at littlebylittlehomeschool.com/blueprint. As always, all of the links that I ever mentioned to you are in the show notes. I hope that these ideas have been an encouragement to you and have given you just some next steps. And I pray for wisdom as you make some corrections and you guide your child.